Welcome, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I'm the Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Wednesday, April 16th, 2025. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? Can I please have the first two cards in our 5-card spread? First two cards we are starting our day off with today. I like it. I like it. I like it very much. We've got here our Queen of Cups and our Hanged Man. Speaking of Hangman, I hope you guys are going to be joining us tonight for our tarot class. We're going to be focusing on the study of the Hangman card. And you can find us over there if you'd like to become a part of that tarot class program. Becoming a paid subscriber to my Substack will be your ticket of entry into our live class tonight. Let's talk about the energy right now because it's very, I want to say, recognition, feeling emotional fortitude that's allowing one to innovate. Why are we experiencing this right now? You know, one of the things I keep on, let's talk about this meridian situation here. So, and the way I've been describing this to a certain extent is I've been describing this as like the traffic jam that we've been having for weeks now across the border between Pisces and Aries. And the reason, so if you have felt a bit emotionally volatile recently, if you felt incredibly sentimental, if you felt like a lot of that work coming out or coming through right now, a lot of it has to do, like I just keep on seeing there's a lot of karmic clearing that's happening at this time. You know, and I want to describe, and we were talking a bit about this before the podcast started, but I'm just gonna, if you're just joining us for the first time, I'm gonna reiterate what we've been experiencing, and one of the things I think is important about some of the work that we're identifying right now is it's potentially helping us recognize our own energetic hurdles, our own, like the things that we are also like things that and we all have this habit, like we all have these tendencies, you know? And this is why we talk about, I keep on hearing there's a lot of work that's happening during this time in relationality to recognizing, identifying, and understanding aversions. Now, why is that so necessary and important? Because, and we talk about this. So, and I want to explain why we're experiencing this on like an astrological level right now. So when we were going through that eclipse cycle, I just want to give you a description of what happened planet wise. The eclipse cycles, the reason that they're often described as chaotic, but I don't like the word chaotic for eclipses. They're unpredictable. They amplify energy. And that can sometimes be a benefit because if something rises up to the surface during eclipses, I like to describe it almost as microscope energy, right? It helps you see something with more clarity, so long as you're not reactive to it. And that's why I even said, like, during eclipse cycles, it's okay to move with intention. It's not like you can't be, like, afraid to do anything because there's an eclipse. But that's why you often, like, you'll hear me saying when we're going through eclipse energy, make sure that you're intentional with what you're driving forward, because it's very easy to get reactive about things that you would normally be perfectly fine with, right? Now, one of the things that we're seeing here is we identified that during that eclipse cycle, we had Mercury and we had Venus, and they were sitting pretty in Aries. We had a lot of planets in Aries. But then what happened? What happened during this eclipse cycle? Mercury and Venus pulled back into Pisces. And at the same time, we identified that Neptune pushed forward. Now, this is somewhat counterintuitive because typically, and we talk about this, the Neptune energy is the memory bank. I like to describe it as like the caboose. You know, it's usually in the back and it comes forward, right? while Mercury energy is much more rapid fire. It's much more innovative. It's much more fast. So we had a little bit of this like intriguing, like ironic situation, which is also further funny because we've got Saturn moving up, and Saturn often makes things ironic. But we've had Mercury pulling backwards, Neptune moving forwards. So the old energy that's moving into a space of newness, while the new energy is moving into a space of sentimentality. That's why I kept on describing this. I didn't, it's interesting too, because I didn't recognize why I kept on calling it Renaissance energy last month, but this is why it's Renaissance energy, because Renaissance is appreciating something outside the context that you would normally find it in. So when Mercury is moving backwards and Neptune is moving forwards, we've got a lot of that Renaissance energy, because it's the rearrangement of things and seeing something when moving it into a different context. All of that is to say, and this is the thing that I think is very interesting right now, is now, and that's the thing that, and often when I'm reading for a lot of the astrological stuff, when planets come out of retrograde, they wake up, right? So what happened? We got Mercury and Venus waking up behind Neptune. So the ability to look at the past and see it in a way that you couldn't before, right? The clarity of time that allows, right? The clarity of time. Neptune and Venus moving closer to Saturn, which is approaching them. So in the context of time, being able to see something that you couldn't see before. There's a lot of work that I keep on seeing that's happening right now as it relates to recognizing aversions, right? The things that we try to energetically steer clear of. Now, why is it important to navigate through aversions? Because when we're feeling more triggered, when we're operating more from abandonment wounds, right? We often can be reactive, but more from the place of the ego, right? Because when we're feeling an energetic aversion to something, we've talked a lot about here, that can be indicative of one or two different things. An energetic aversion to something can either be in a space that it is distasteful to our higher self, right? There's something that sits wrongly within us about something. And the higher self is always able to articulate upon it, right? The higher self is always ready to have that productive conversation as it relates to something that one feels an energetic aversion towards. But often we feel aversions to things based upon natural instinct, right? That is the egoic self, the energy of the defense system that wants to rise up and protect us from something. And this is why it's always very important for us to investigate our aversions, because in the ability of investigating our aversions, we are able to understand the difference between an aversion of the higher self, something that the higher self says, this is not okay in any context, right? And the ability to talk upon the reasons why. Or these are moments or modalities that we sometimes recognize that this is the egoic self. And now the problem with the egoic self, often when the egoic self has an aversion to something, it's because of an energetic blind spot in the self, right? Because if the egoic self has an aversion to something and doesn't want to talk about it, it's often because it's hiding or working through an energetic blind spot of something that we cannot see within ourselves. So that's why when we're on a healthy healing path, we are introspective upon our aversions, because the ability to analyze and understand our aversions helps us recognize and understand the self better. And it helps us understand if there's something that we need to move away from because it doesn't sit well with us, right? Message from the higher self. Or if it's something that we need to investigate further within the self and put work towards, because if we can't explain why we have an aversion to something beyond the fact that it doesn't sit well with us, but we can't explain it, then that is a lot of that is working through a lot of the energetic defense mechanism of the ego that sometimes tries to protect us from parts of the self that we carry trauma around. Continuing to get clarification on this third card in our 5-card spread. Are you kidding me right now? I'm laughing because as I did that, like literally, how many cards just came out? Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, yes. Okay, thank you. I get it. And what happens, right? Like, what happens? And I'm going to read all of them. And you guys, if you want to see the full spread, then you'll be able to, you'll be able, you can go over to my Substack and you'll be able to see the photo. But I'm going to just read them off in rapid fire because I'm recognizing them. I'm supposed to read them all at once, which is a lot, but we can do it because it's like they're forming their own card. Um, we've got here the Judgment card, the Ace of Cups, the High Priestess, the Four of Pentacles, the Lover's card in its reversal, and the Four of, ooh, I see what's happening. Oh, this is so cool. And the Four of, oh, wow. Okay. And the Four of Cups in its reversal. So I'm sorry. The reason all these cards came out right now is they're directed to different messages coming through depending on where you are on the frequency cycles. The first row is the energy in separation. The second row is the energy coming into union, and the third row is the energy of deep within divine union. So this is having a profound impact as it relates to what is occurring right now for energies across the frequencies. Now, this is gonna take a minute. Let me walk you through it. So, and it has to do, I keep on seeing it has to do with conversations based upon and built upon the nature of aversion and the nature of change. Now, this is why it feels like the messages right now are becoming segmented, because and I think you may have noticed this when we started to see it's having different. It's the same lesson that's having a different impact depending on where one is in the frequencies. The reason so many cards came out right now is because these are asynchronous lessons, right? It's all moving towards the same direction, but they're not synchronized. So for the energy right now in separation, this is why there's so much of this frustration that's being released, right? This is feeling like, I keep on hearing for a lot of energy right now, this is feeling like a breakthrough that is causing a breakdown. Why is a breakthrough sometimes cause breakdowns? Why? Because when we recognize something that was missing, an energetic counterpart, right? We talk a lot about the pathwork of going forward sometimes as its own space of clarity. Sometimes we can't recognize, and these are all those messages that we're experiencing with Jupiter and Gemini. You can't miss something you've never known, right? It's hard to be able to experience something if you haven't experienced it before. And so I keep on seeing, and this is why we talk a lot about the work or the pathwork of discernment, because sometimes there is a level or degree of something that you can create with another versus the space of recognizing another's aversion to doing something, right? Like that's where the word aversion is coming through. And often, and this is why we talk about healthy relationship it requires a mutual agreed investment as it relates to what it is that you build towards. Because often and we talked a lot about this, it's not enough to just wish for something to be better. You have to put the active work in doing it, right? It's not enough to wish. Wishes are manifestations without legs, right? Wishes are sedentary, right? But manifestations are wishes in action. We walk towards them. And so that's why we keep on seeing that. Why is there so much of this energetic frustration or release that's occurring right now as we see some of these new relationships coming together? Because a lot of the messages that we've been identifying is there's energy right now that is actively building into new energetic connections. And they're recognizing the difference of invested effort, right? And what is invested effort? Someone that understands and appreciates the consistency that we create for one another that becomes the fabric of the relationship that we're working to create. doesn't require us to be perfect. It requires us to be adaptable and changing. And in that moment of receiving it, immediately, this is the energy that is recognizing the aversions that may have created that lack space in past partnership. The ability to identify what was energetically missing, right? So I keep on seeing that this is a lot of that energy. This is, again, it's not energy that says, oh, good, I found someone who completes me. This is energy that goes, thank God, I found someone who understands what it means to work on a relationship, right? It's the active engagement of putting invested effort into something. And so that's why I keep on seeing there's also a lot of frustration that is being released here, because it's in the moment. I keep on saying it's in the moment that you see the tenacity that another can bring to something, that one's eyes are opened to the what's the word I'm looking for? To the ambivalence of another, right? I'm going to say that again because I see, because they're saying like there's something about this right now that the energy, the relationships that are going to start shifting into something different here, because this is what's powering a lot of these chariot energies right now, right? This is why I keep on seeing this is the energy that's building into a relationship where they're seeing tenacity in action that suddenly opens their eyes to the ambivalence of past relationship. While for energy coming into divine union, this same energetic force, this is the energy that says to one another, you do not complete me. You are my ground. You are the ground from which I flourish. Because when and this is why the energy is saying to each other, thank you for that gift. And the energy is saying the gift of, I'm not doing anything. And the energy is saying you're doing exactly. Why? Because the gift, when someone says, thank you for that, and you're saying, I'm not doing anything, and someone says, exactly, that's the energy that says, the ability that you bring, the stability that you bring in your own self is such that I know that I can always rely upon you, right? The need made, and the need, I keep on seeing, the tacit reliability that does not demand, but is always there, that occurs when we become energetically reliable in ourselves. This is why the energy says, you have no idea what you mean to me because you are the ground from which I flourish. Because when we build into a relationship where we don't need to concentrate constantly on having to tend the earth of the relationship, when we're not constantly having to do that work to like check if the ground is stable, we can finally allow ourselves to grow and to flourish. And this is why the energy is saying thank you, because you're giving me the gift of hermit energy, right? Like we get our time, like the gift, the profound gift of being in healthy partnership is getting one's time back, not to focus on partnership that allows one to come into the expansion of the self. While for masculine and feminine energy that is deep within divine union, this is the energy that's working on the firmament. Like this is the energy. This is a lot of the energy right now that's working through that same, that same space of, I keep on seeing, making peace means that you have to actively work through energetic aversion. That's what I keep on seeing. Right? It's not about how you feel. It's about what you want. And often in those moments, I keep on seeing that this energy that's like deep within divine union, it's like they're coming into like Superman energy, because it's like they're saying like feelings, like it's not about what's convenient. It's about what creates that fabric, right? And that's why I keep on seeing that energy is like working through that context of saying it's not about it's not about the things that we like to do. It's about doing the things that we know are energetically necessary, like doing the things that allow us to feel that sense of like it's like again. And that's why I keep on seeing that this is what feels so difficult, because this is the energy that is recognizing the difference between, and this is why, because you'll remember, and this is really important. Okay, this is really important. This is why this is why the cards broke up. The energy in separation is healing from inspiration. The energy deep within divine union is remembering the value of it, right? because when we feel energetic aversion, but then we work through our own aversion and we see what it is that we want to create, right? Like that is the energy that allows that ability of finding what is necessary within the self to move something in the direction that you aspire it to go. This is how we don't take things personally, right? We move through them, right? Like we allow, like I told you, it's like that space of saying it's not that it feels good, it's because it is good. Continuing to get clarification between our fourth and fifth cards in our 5-card spread. We've got here our Knight of Cups in its upright and our Page of Pentacles in its reversal. There's something really, I want to say there's something very beautiful about this right now, but it's having a different impact on masculine and feminine energy, because I just keep on hearing asynchronous lessons right now, right? And what do I mean by asynchronous lessons? Sometimes, right, and especially when the planets are in alignment, you've probably noticed this, when the planets are in alignment, we're often all doing like the energy, the frequencies are doing a lot of the same work. But there's something about the fact, I keep on saying, there's something about this like pile up on the meridian between Pisces and Aries right now that is, it's like, it's creating a lot of, fragmentation as it relates to how these lessons are being navigated, because, and I keep on hearing, because, and I want you, it's all because it's about aversion, right? And the energy in separation is is learning how to recognize aversion, right? The energy coming into divine union is healing from feeling, like is healing from aversion, is what I'm getting. And the energy deep within divine union is moving through aversion. so that's why, and that's why it's so, and for masculine and feminine, it is having a different impact, because for feminine, there's something about honoring aversion that's very important here. Because, and that's why, again, because for feminine, this is the feminine energy that's healing from the ability of being able to articulate something that they're not energetically comfortable with. Often when feminine comes out of the space of people pleasing, and that's what that's a lot of the work that the feminine energy is doing right now. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. The difference between, and this is why it's very important to recognize and heal aversion, because it's not just about like the feeling, right? Being like, no, it's not that. It's about understanding and recognizing and being able to articulate as to an aversion that allows another, while at the same time being able to articulate why something's an energetic standard. So this is the feminine that says, it's okay for me not to like anything I don't want to like, as long as my higher self can provide a worthy explanation, right? And that's not the energy that's the energy, the feminine that says that's not hiding, right? That's not hiding from the self. That's being ready and actively willing to talk about it, to hash it out, right? Like that's the energy that's building into that space. While for masculine energy, it's the opposite. That's why that's why I keep on getting asynchronous lessons right now, because for masculine, it's a lot of the masculine energy approaching their aversions more from a space of introspection, more from a space of curiosity, finding that unwillingness, right? And this is often how we have to move into it. Sometimes we find that unwillingness to think about something or to explore something and goes, wait, that's a blind spot. If I can't find a reason why I feel an aversion to something, but I also can't put words to it, that's a blind spot in the self, right? So I keep on seeing that for masculine, it's having to approach those blind spots with curiosity, like leaning into that exploration. For feminine, it's honoring it by articulating it. So for feminine, it's like throat chakra work. For masculine, it's more, I want to say, it feels more like solar plexus work. continuing to get clarification between our Queen of Cups and its upright and our Hangman card. I don't even know how I'm going to read the middle of this spread right now. We're going to navigate it as we go, friends. One card to clarify. Boom. We've got that Emperor card in its reversal. There's a lot of this, I keep on seeing there's a lot of that. I keep on recognizing this right now as, and again, it's interesting too, because it's working in the space of identifying and articulating upon, and this is why it feels like Renaissance energy. And this is often what we do as we come into the deeper understanding of the self is, working in the context of recognizing aversions. I keep on hearing, it also has a lot to do, I keep on hearing, navigating our own taboos. Now, this is really important because this is the nuance that we have to recognize here. It's not a situation of not having a taboo. It's not a situation of not having spaces or places or circumstances or things that we consider energetically sacred. But that's the conversation. Something that is energetically, like I keep on hearing, something that is sacred can bear a conversation. It's something that can be spoken towards. It's something that we can talk about, right? The sacredness comes from the mouth. It comes from the ability to articulate upon the reasons why, right? So I keep on seeing that there's a lot of, and when we're not working in that context, right? When we feel something that is energetically taboo and we're able to put language to it, we are able to talk about why something is energetically sacred. But when we operate more from a space of fear, then we say, like what we're really saying, right? When we say, I don't talk about that, why? It scares me. Why? It scares me. Like, it scares me isn't like, that's the ego. Like, it scares me isn't a reason, right? It's not a reason, but it can feel very overwhelming. It can feel very energetically powerful, right? It can feel overwhelming sometimes when we navigate those spaces. But that's what we talk about when we talk about working through healing our abandonment wounds, right? And again, what do we talk about here? It's not about running up against a fear full tilt and being like, I have to go after that because I'm afraid of it. No, it's about understanding the nature of the self and being able to embrace our fear. And that doesn't mean pushing ourselves into spaces that terrify us. That's not embracing fear. Okay. Like, that's not embracing fear. That's not embracing fear. Okay. It is being able to contemplate, to be able to identify, because often in the journey of exploring the things that we are afraid of, we come to understand and recognize ourselves better. Because again, when we feel, like I keep on saying, when that bell is rung within us, right? When the fear bell is rung, you don't just react to it. You go see who was pulling the lever. You go see what it was. You go see what it was about. Right? You go into the self, you go into the cathedral of the self to understand if it was the energetic ego having a moment, right? Or if it was the higher self saying, we got to talk. We got to talk. We got to talk. We got to talk. We got to have a conversation, right? And so I keep on seeing, and this is having this itself, this hashing out, if you will. What's happening right now for a lot of the energy coming into healthy relationship is this is the energy working through frustration, hashing out the fear, right? Because a healthy relationship is not one that you don't have to pretend that there aren't those anxieties, there aren't those doubts there. You don't react to them. You use the throat chakra. You spit it out. You spit it out. You spit it out. And in the moment that you hash it out, what does the healthy counterpart say? I'm relieved you told me. Right? Because now you've given the opportunity to create that fertile soil from which to build. Right? And that's why I keep on, and this is why it's important, and this is why rejection, like there is no rejection. Rejection is protection. Because in that moment, if we hash out our fears without reacting to it, and another person pieces out, another person says, see you later. Well, then that's a relationship of inspiration, right? Because what's someone saying at that point? That's not very dream of you. That's not very, that's not very imaginary of you, right? You're not making me feel good you're not making me feel good. So I got to go, right? So the ability to articulate through frustration, like your mouth is your best protection. Because if articulating a frustration makes someone go away, they've given you every articulation of the fact that they don't want the same manifestation that you yourself want. And this is why I see a lot of energy right now coming into healthy energetic relationship, and then immediately having an awakening as to what was missing. Like I told you, awakening is not an moment. It's a like oh. So, continuing to get clarification here for energy coming into divine union. And remember that hashing out, this is the soil. For the energy coming into divine union. This is why the energy builds into that context of love, because there's nothing that they can't hash. I keep on hearing the energy coming into divine union saying I love you. And why is the energy saying I love you? Right? Yeah, because there's nothing that I can't hash, right? And when they're in that space, when we're in that space that everything becomes soil, right? Never do we feel more welcomed, because it doesn't require us to feel like we have to be something that we're not. It's that space of feeling like every part of us is energetically welcomed, and that doesn't mean we have to agree all the time. But even in the moment, like the healthy relationship is one that says that you don't have to hold that bitterness inside. You don't need to bear down on it. You don't need to like just suck it up. It's the energetic relief of being with energetic counterpart, where everything can be put on the table, because the promise that you make to one another is we will clear the table every day, right? Continuing to get clarification, but for the energy deep within divine union, this is why I see a lot of the energy right now deep within divine union working in that context of looking at something and saying, and this is interesting because I told you, for a lot of the energy deep within divine union, it's working through aversion. This is why there's so much segmentation that's occurring in these cards, because for the energy coming deep within divine union, this is the energy that says when you're trying to move towards a dream, you have to be ready to move through what's not the dream, right? It's not about circumnavigating. It's about moving through something. The only way out is through. If you want something to be different, you can't avoid things. You just have to move through them in accordance with what you know to be true. And so that's why I keep on seeing that there's a lot of energy right now working to heal things deep within divine union. And they're saying to one another as they do so, feelings have nothing to do with it. But why are they saying feelings have nothing to do with it? Because this isn't the energy that says I don't have feelings. This is the energy that says that sometimes we move through difficult situations because we have the hope for what they can be on the other side of them, right? This is the energy that like pushes through the construct of their own anxiety to move something in the directionality that they aspire it to go. Continuing to get clarification between all of this. I'm just going to call it like the I'll find a word for it in a minute. The matrices of cards that we're opening up right now in the center of the table. So the between the matrix here and the matrices and the Knight of Cups, can I get one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Eight of Swords in its reversal. So I keep on seeing that there's something very beautiful that's happening right now, because it's working through, I keep on seeing it's working through the recognition and understanding of an integrated experience. And what does an integrated experience mean? Something that is integral, is something that is woven, right? Lots and lots of threads that make something strong. And so I keep on seeing that there's there's something, there's a lot of that conversation that's occurring to a certain extent as it relates to understanding. I keep on getting like the warp and weft of fabric, which has to do with understanding and recognizing like the effort or the energy, the work it takes to unify something that often requires us to push through our own anxiety of fear of the self, right? We do this like we do this work we do this work very, very frequently in relationality to identifying and recognizing. And I keep on hearing, and it has to do because there's so many of these lessons right now as it relates to the stability that we create, particularly in the space of love. Because we talk a lot about the difference in recognizing love that is self-indulgent versus love that serves something outside of the self. And how can we, and that's the moment. Like I like to describe that love that feels like it's like the egoic love, if you will. It's not that we don't have those moments. Like it feels good to love. But I like to describe like egoic love is often the articulation point of like, I'm going to make a Simpsons reference here. It's like those moments when like Homer gives Marge a bowling ball that says Homer on it, right? those moments that we give something to another because it feels good to do so instead of recognizing what another individual is asking for. And that's why we talk about the fact that love is not just what feels good. That's not love. That's an aspect of love. But love in itself is active listening, right? It's putting the energetic ear to something. It's paying attention to what another person needs and being able to move in accordance to it. So that ability of doing so, right? The harmony that we create, it feels like I keep on seeing it's that giving act that we often feel around us, and we feel like we're held in the arms of love. What we really feel is not that space that we have to voice a need, but that feeling that we're always held in the arms of it. And so that's why I keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy right now, deep within divine union, that ability of recognizing that ability of defining that the act of the self, where you put the self aside in order to kind of move towards what feels like it is supportive to those around you. Like that's why I keep on seeing that there's a lot of that energy working forward in that way, because this is the energy that's like, I keep on seeing, and it's more of that conversation of I keep on, and that's why I keep on seeing that this is why we needed so much segmentation in the cards, because when we feel that force of love, we're able to put our own energetic aversions aside to be able to listen, right? It's like that space of I keep on seeing, it's like the expansion of the self through something that feels like it's energetically frustrating. And that's why I keep on seeing that, like, often for a lot of the energy right now, deep within divine union, having to work on those frameworks where another person is energetically resistant to that, you can't, like, that's why you can't do that by yourself. You can't do that by yourself, because again, we talked a lot about the fact that when we're trying to heal something, and this is just the sad truth of it, and this is why we talk about having to recognize the difference between love that feels like the self-indulgent act versus what another person desires, right? That's often why sometimes when we care about someone, we put distance there, because our desire to love someone can never supersede another's desire for themselves. It does not become, the moment that we feel that our desire to love someone supersedes their own choice, that's not love. That's egoic control. That's egoic self, right? So we see even now that there's a lot of that energy. That's why I keep on hearing that there's a lot of energy there doing that work of extending an olive branch but not cutting down a tree. Because when you're trying to move something in a way that wants to repair it, you don't force that healing, right? You offer it. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union, I just keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy coming into divine union, there's a lot of that work that we're recognizing and identifying specifically and particularly in the realm of feeling. Like, I keep on hearing this energy right now that's actively healing. Actively healing in the context of love. And why is the energy actively healing in the context of love? Because this is the energy that says to one another as they're doing that work, thank you. And the energy saying, I'm not doing anything. And the energy saying, you're doing everything. Because when we're able to find that stability of the self, when we create that reliability, right? When we understand ourselves, then never do we feel more stable in relationship. Not because someone's actively doing something for us, but we know what we will find there, right? And that's the gift. That's the true value of the gift of us finding that stability point within ourselves. Because when we find that ability to be stable within ourselves, another feels the ability to recognize that it's like the constant high five. It's always knowing. It's putting your hand up and always knowing that that hand is going to be there, right? It's not making you worry. It's the assurance that you feel in the midst of that embrace. While for masculine, and that's why that energy is moving into hermit energy, because it's getting their time back. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, in separation, I just keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy in separation, I see a lot of karmic cycles closing right now as a healthy energetic relationships with training wheels are taking off. The ability of seeing the difference between ambivalence versus, versus progressive effort. And it doesn't have to be perfect, right? It's jittery. I keep on seeing it, like it's hanging on the meridian of Pisces and Aries. It's jittery. It's training wheels, right? It's a lot of that pardon our appearance. It's a lot of that like learning as you go, right? Like putting wheels on the vehicle as you're moving. But this is the energy that feels the sense of relief in identifying and seeing and feeling that force of progress. Continuing to get clarification between our Knight of Cups in combination with our Page of Pentacles in its reversal. Can I get one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Three of Swords in its reversal. So a lot of this work that we're seeing in relationality to this right now, this is healing. It's integrated healing, right? Healing, and I got to stress this, healing is not, sometimes, like, how do I say this in a way that it doesn't sound, healing can sometimes hurt because it's recognizing, and this is why I keep on seeing that there's something about that, it's understanding and working through the aspect of relief, right? And that's why I keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy right now, our capacity to heal something is equally calibrated to our capacity to navigate difficulty, right? Because when we do not have an ability to navigate through aversion, then we're not healing, we're avoiding things, right? If we're just doing something, if we're just doing things that are self-indulgent, that's not healing, right? Healing is proportional, and this is why we talk about shadow work. Like healing is proportional to our own ability to navigate our aversion. Because if we're just healing and we're avoiding things, then that's not healing. Okay, that's healing is recognizing and understanding our aversions. And it's not forcing ourselves through. It's not about not having any aversions. That's not healing either. It's understanding our aversions to recognize whether they're coming from the space of the higher self, which says, I'll tell you why that bothers you. Take a seat. We can talk about this all day. Versus the ego that goes, no, don't look at that. go away. You know what I mean? Like, no, go away, go away. Like that's what the ego says. Go away, right? Continuing to get clarification, and that's the thing. Like, and that's why I keep on hearing. This is what we talk about with alignment, because you can be in, like, look, you can be in a space. Listen, you can be the most healed person on the planet, but if you're sitting around with them, if you're the most healed person on the planet, and you're working in the context of someone that's still in the space where they're operating in their ego, right? And you're like, we can heal this, and someone's saying, no, go away. Then in the moment that you try to push through that, you become the toxic energy. It doesn't matter if it feels well intentioned. Intention has nothing to do with it. It has to do with energetic consent, right? And the ability to heal together. The consensual healing is the energetic alignment point. So we keep on seeing that there's a lot, and that's why there's all these conversations about courtesy that are coming up. Because it's not about, it's not even, often we become rude with the best intentions, right? We become rude with the best intentions, right? Because it feels good. It's not about what feels good. It's about feeling good and what is good. And that's building and based upon a space of, again, recognizing and identifying what feels good for the self and building it to the context of what another person feels as well. And that's why I keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy right now, some of these new partnerships that are coming together, it's slow, it's shaky, but that consistent effort and force, I keep on hearing the energy say, this is the start of something beautiful, right? And why is it? Like, often the start of something beautiful, how can we often predicate the start of something beautiful? Clarification between, and I have to draw the card between, like, in terms of the matrices that we have in the center. One card to clarify. Yeah, sometimes the start of something beautiful is often very clumsy. The start of something beautiful is often very clumsy. Why? Because it's not a move. Because authenticity is clumsy, right? Something smooth is an operation. The start of something beautiful is often something that's very clumsy. It's very halting, right? It's working in the context of the authenticity that we see. And I keep on hearing, I keep on seeing that there's some energy right now, healing from experiences of the past in relationality to identifying and feeling that, like that space of being able to be oneself. And in that moment, a lot of clarity comes as it relates to what one was experiencing in the past. Continuation between our 5 of Cups in combination with our Temperance card in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our 3 of Pentacles in its upright. So I keep on seeing, and for a lot of, this is like for a lot of the energy right now, and that's to keep on, like, there's something really important that I'm seeing that's happening for a lot of energy and separation. I keep on hearing this energy say, this is real. Why is the energy saying this is real? Because this is the energy that's starting to feel, activating upon those relationships. That again, and why is the energy saying this is real? Because this isn't the energy saying, I hope this is real. This is the energy that's seeing reality in action. Welcome to Saturn moving in, right? Here comes Saturn moving up towards Mercury and Venus, right? And what does Saturn's lessons often say to us? The difficulty point with consistency. You can't know if someone is consistent. It stinks, I know. There's no, there's no ability to tell the difference between authenticity and someone and an energetic move beyond the ability to recognize and identify the consistency that we create for one another, right? Because that modality, right? Like, the authenticity is not one that sweeps you off your feet, right? It's not built in that. It is the conscientiousness, the courtesy, the care. I keep on seeing there's a lot of energy right now healing intimacy wounds, and suddenly realizing and recognizing that conscientiousness or that courtesy, that apprehension that often is indicative to another person being caring, right? Not confusing that with the ambivalent hesitation of someone who comes towards us more from a sake of their own whim, and then articulates and says that there's something wrong when we're asking for something, and saying, why are you making problems where problems don't exist? Because what is the song you will hear when you say to someone that they're not being consistent? Why are you creating problems where problems don't exist? Just go with it. Let it be like this, right? And that's the difference between building into a relationship that says you can have this exactly how it is, so long as you stop complaining about it, versus the energy that says, I'm really appreciative that you've told me that something has bothered you, because I deeply care about you and I don't want to hurt you, and I want to do everything I can to address this. And so I keep on seeing that a lot of that work and seeing that is helping to build clarity on what was energetically missing in those unhealthy relationships of the past. Continuing to get clarification. And this is why, for a lot of the energy right now coming into divine union, clarification between our Temperance card in its reversal in combination with our Eight of Swords in its reversal. One card to clarify. There it is. Two of Cups. Thank you. I'm not doing anything. Yes, you are. Right? Because this isn't the energy that says, this is the energy that does not build into a context of saying, where are you? This is the energy that builds into the context of always knowing, always feeling that stabilization point, always building into the context of reliability. Because when we build into consistent relationship, when we see that invested effort, when we build into the space, like this is how we identify and become to know one another as people. That reliability point isn't based on need. Like we're not constantly haranguing each other, right? We're not constantly demanding each other, but the consistency, that constant effort that we give one another, it creates the ground from which we can build. And so this is why I see that energy says to one another, you don't complete me, but you allow me to complete myself, right? Because when we're in a healthy partnership, we don't desire completion outside the self. We say between us in that space, everything is possible, because when we have those moments of healthy alignment, it's the need of not having to spend every moment worrying about the integrity of the ground that you walk upon that allows you to fly. While for masculine and feminine right now, deep within divine union, clarification between our Eight of Swords in its reversal in combination with our Three of Swords in its reversal. There's that Judgment card. And so I keep on seeing, for a lot of the energy deep within divine union right now, everything I keep seeing for a lot of the energy deep within divine union, it's funny because it feels very ironic. And why does it feel ironic? It feels ironic because Saturn's moving up to the meridian between Pisces and Aries. And that's the energy that like, again, I almost see energy having conversation, being like, how do you feel about it? And someone being like, it's not about feelings. Like, this is why, like, this is literally what we hear when energy starts moving into Aries, which is, it's not about how I feel. It's not about how I feel. Aries, like, that is Aries, like, that's Aries tenant. Like, that's what Aries loves to say. It's not about how I feel. It's about what needs to be done. It's about working through that context. It's about recognizing and getting over, I keep on hearing, getting over the hump of one's own feelings, because often, right, and we talk about this, when there's things from the past, when we're carrying bitterness, when we're carrying like frustration, we have to move through it, right? It's like, it's icebreaker energy. Right? Because when we have those moments and we're feeling energetically bitter and we have to move into an icebreaker, then it's like, you have to, like, that's like Aries that says it's not about the feelings, because when you operate too much from the feelings, you end up avoiding things, right? Because what do we say here? The feelings don't carry the map. The feelings ask for things, and it's up to us in utilizing our higher self to discern whether we move towards them or if we move through them. Continuing to get clarification between our Three of Pentacles in its upright in combination with our Two of Cups in its upright. May I please have one card to clarify? So many cards today. Two cards to clarify. We've got here our Seven of Cups in its upright in combination with our Star card in its upright. So let's, one of the things that we're seeing here, and I keep on seeing, there's something coming through right now. It's having to do with the confluence of all these planets that are bundled up in the meridian between Pisces and Aries. I keep on getting, it's like a matrices. So, and I keep on, and you'll have to remember, because you remember what I talked about the fact that we were leading into a Renaissance energy. So we just moved into, like, you'll have to remember, we're moving through that Renaissance energy, which is like the confluence of being able to see something in ways that you couldn't see it before. But there's a bit of an array that's happening right now as it relates to the lessons. That's why so many cards came out in the center of the spread, because it's asynchronous. The reason that it's saying it's a matrices right now is because how it, like, working through the pathwork of understanding the nature of aversion is having a different impact, not only on the energy right now across the frequencies, but also in different ways for masculine and feminine energy. So, and that's why I keep on seeing, like, and this is what we talk about the fact that tarot doesn't tell you what you should do. It helps you understand and work through what is happening to better orient oneself on the journey. So everything I keep seeing here, it's like working through, I keep on seeing, like, one of the things to do right now that will help through this is, if you're working through a feeling of energetic aversion, being able to explore it, right? To be able to understand it. Because when we're self-aware, it's not that we don't carry aversions. It's not the fact that we don't carry taboos, but we find the space or place to be able to articulate and explain the reasons why. Because it is the ability to explain through the energetic aversion that helps us understand if the call is coming from upstairs, the higher self, right? Or if it's coming from the energetic ego space, which operates often in that place of wanting to protect us, but often in the space of protecting us, often moves us in directions that are counter oppositional to being able to see ourselves, right? So there's a lot of that work here. Continuing to get clarification between our Two of Cups in its upright in combination with our Judgment card. May I please have one card to clarify? Yes, let's talk about the aspect of knowing thyself, because that's the thing about it. When we know ourselves, we feel like we are energetically stable to love, because in the identification of knowing ourselves, our self is not conditional, right? Our self is not fickle, right? Our self is not adaptable to the energy around us, right? It's not the space of being like influenced, there's something about that's very important there. Because, and I keep on getting the sense that we all influence each other, right? There's something about the human experience wherein we cannot help but influence each other, and that's a gift, right? Because when our spheres interlink, we can have amazing advancements, right? Those moments that we energetically connect, they suddenly can move things forward in profound ways, because it's about, when we're talking about Renaissance energy, when we all operate not in the space of trying to be perfect, but we focus more on being exquisite, finding that aspect of the self that makes us uniquely ourselves. We don't build conditionally into the concerns about what others are doing. We stay in our lane, if we will, right? We stay in our lane, but then we feel energetically inspired by what we see around us. It allows us to flourish. It allows us to blossom. It allows us to grow. But that's why I keep on seeing here that there's something very profound and beautiful about identifying and recognizing that work, because there's something across all of the frequencies right now that has to do in working through and identifying that distaste or that work that we experience as it relates to recognizing something that feels like an energetic aversion to us. This was all of that work that we talked about during the Venus retrograde cycle, right? It's all of that work that we talked about what one does when one feels like there's grit thrown on the mirror of one's own self, right? Do you throw it back at someone? No. It's not about because when you do that, when you understand and recognize that, instead you take the energetic note, you observe it, you recognize it, you inhabit how you feel. And the one thing I keep on getting that's very important is remembering, we've got reflective surfaces now, but there was a time when there wasn't no there weren't any reflective surfaces. How would you make a reflective surface? You'd put grit on the mirror. The act of polishing something is taking grit and not getting rid of it, but using it to polish the mirror of the self. So when we have those moments and we feel those things that make us feel triggered, right? But then we explore why. And we either identify from the higher self that says, this is why it bothered you, it's not okay, we can talk about it, versus sometimes the ego going, is that true? Is that really what I look like? Like those moments. And that's what we can utilize, right? That's those, again, right? Because what happens when we're energetically defensive, right? The reason we say, is that true? And the ability to say, that's something I can perfect. That's something I can do better. That's something I can work on, right? That is how we apply the energetic grit to the mirror. And we don't become defensive in those moments, but we become receptive as it relates to what it is that we want to embody, versus something that isn't that it's versus something that's not a big deal, or feels like another person's defensiveness, right? And so it's all about, I keep on hearing, the grit. It's not about being reactive to grit. It's about refining through it. And what do we do when we refine? We recognize and identify if it's a note that's worth taking, or if it's another person energetically projecting onto us. And I feel like that's happening across all of the frequencies. Well, that's a lot of the work that we had to navigate coming out of that Venus-Mercury retrograde cycle. Final card in today's spread, between our star card, our 7 of Cups in its upright, and our 3 of Cups in its upright. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our 4 of Pentacles in its reversal. So I think that one of the things that I see here that's, I feel like there's a lot of work that's being done right now across the frequencies, particularly and especially in relationality to healing the heart chakra. And the thing about, and you'll remember, and I think this has a lot to do with the fact that we see that Mars has moved into Leo. And again, Leo, often the Leo journeys have to do with working through the energetic space of compassion. Now, what's so important and valuable in that space is identifying and recognizing, I want to describe this as where our hearts live. That's kind of the best way I can describe this, because, and I keep on seeing that, when we are in a space of building into the context of healthy healing, and I keep on getting the best way to, if you're worried, if you're ever anxious or perseverating as to whether something bothering you is coming more from the space of the ego or the higher self. The higher self is always ready to have that conversation. The higher self is always ready to hash it out. The higher self is like, Take a seat, right? Like it's a lot of that, like it's working in that space, right? And when we're moving more in the space, and it's not about, it's about recognizing and identifying like what feels like it is helpful, what feels like it is encouraging. And it's nuanced too, because we also talk about the fact that it's not just a space about talking about how you feel all the time. Honoring your feelings is not constantly keeping someone up to date with every single modality of emotionality that we inhabit, right? We got bad days, we got good days. We can go through a single day, you might go through like 20 different emotions. We build balance by recognizing what feels pervasive, right? Something that needs to be accommodated and changed for, versus like I keep on seeing like the struggle that we create for another if we become too emotionally or energetically volatile. So that's why I keep on seeing it has to do, it's interesting too, because they're saying these are lessons in relationality to poise, right? And what is poise? So poise is a position, right? It's navigating the intentionality of the emotion and the emotion that you're aspiring to inhabit. And it's again, like it's not the fact, those with poise, it's not that they don't feel the same things that we all, like everyone feels, but you make the intentional effort to recognize what it is that you want to embody, right? So a lot of that work, I keep on seeing that there's something about these new energetic connections that are coming through the chariot energy, which is defining and seeing the beautiful characteristic of another that is embodied in poise. Because when we have poise, it's not about how we feel every day. It's about showing up, right? It's not about whether you're having a good day or a bad day. It's about like the gift of poise that we give to one another as it relates to what another can expect. So a healthy relationship has a level or degree of poise. And that doesn't, I need to stress this, that doesn't mean that we're operating in a space that we feel like we are performative of the self, right? Poise, that being performative of the self doesn't allow the self to feel like you can talk about the things that you don't want to talk about. But poise is being able to articulate how you feel in ways that allow that allow them to be productive instead of energetically devastating, right? So a lot of that work that we do is building into the context. And when we talk a lot about this with children, like one of the reasons that we find children so adorable is often children lack poise. You know what I mean? Like, we all feel like children inside, but the reason that we don't act like children is because we've worked on embodying poise, right? The gift I give you is that you're not experiencing every single modality of feeling that I'm having at every moment. I'm working on trying to communicate something to you, and I'm overcoming my own energetic urges to be able to deliver those energetic messages. This is what we do in language. This is what we do in healthy communication. But that's why when we're too reactive, we create a shield wall around us. And often those that are like too much in their egoic space, they don't recognize that everyone's just leaving them alone. Because when you're too reactive, you're like, oh, I'm always right. It's like, it's not that you're always right. Nobody wants to talk to you because there's no talking to you. There's no, it's like, you're like, oh, I'm always right. It's like, it's not that you're always right. Nobody wants to talk to you because there's no talking to you. There's no, like it's not fun to talk about to someone who's convinced that they're energetically right all the time. So everyone's like, you're not right. Everyone's just leaving you alone, right? And then everybody went away. It's the space of recognizing and identifying that when you don't have poise, energy avoids you. Like when you don't have poise, energy avoids you. And so that ability of identifying and recognizing this is why we work in the space of being energetically adaptable. This is why we work in the space of trying to recognize and understand ourselves. Because the more that we're able to navigate and learn that the beautiful gift of having poise, then we become effective. We become effective places where others can find us. Right? Because it's the reliability of what another can expect that creates that feeling of energetic stability. And I feel like there's something really important about that. This is all of those lessons that we were seeing in chariot energy that help us recognize the difference between energy that moves from a place of whim, right? That's not love. Doing something when you feel like it isn't love, right? Doing something when the mood strikes, that's not love. That's scratching an itch of your ego. Love is the consistent effort that we put to the things that we energetically care about. And often we worry and we fear that we're not doing it well enough. But that's usually why we can identify we're doing it perfectly. That is our daily collective read for today. Oh, bottom of the deck. Woo-hoo, I almost forgot. Bottom of the deck. Especially, yep, we've got here our 9 of Wands in its reversal. And that's the thing that kind of stinks about the whole thing. Because those that embody or work towards the space of poise are constantly worried that they're failing at it, right? And this is where Saturn comes in. The exquisite irony of those that move into the space of poise is often the fear and anxiety that you're not doing it enough, that there's always something that you could be doing more, right? It's the space of compassion that is profound. And that's why I always say, like, it's not about being perfect, because often when we feel like we're perfect, that's usually a good sign that something has gone far astray. Something's gone far astray. If we feel like we're perfect, something has gone really, really wrong, because we should never be perfect. What are you doing here if you're perfect? What are you doing? It's not about being perfect. There's always something we could be improving upon. And the ability to face the world in that way, to face the landscape of looking at the earth, looking at the world around you in the space of being a perpetual student of it. That is what we talk about with humility. It's not saying that you suck. It's looking at the world and saying, I'm amazed at how much there is still to learn. And that knowledge is ever continuing and ever growing. It's not about saying that you're worthless. It's saying that is a gift that feels immeasurable and incredible and profound. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can do so on my site. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember, I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my site. So I encourage you to do it there. Couple of updates. Most important update. We've got tarot class tonight. Are you going to be there? I hope you're going to be there tonight. We're going to be starting our class tonight at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the Hangman card. If you would like to become a part of that tarot class program, all you need to do is wander on over to my Substack and become a paid subscriber. Your paid subscription to my Substack is your ticket of entry into our class tonight. You will also have access as a monthly subscriber to over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church library. Now, it's not necessary to catch up. It's okay if you're just joining us for the first time today. You've got ample opportunity afterwards. I will also be doing my best to give you a recap on everything that we've studied thus far. And if you and you'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions you may have in relation to anything that we've studied so far. If you have any questions about the Hangman, shoot me a line today. I'll be sure to include them in our class tonight. And if you become a founding member to my Substack, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, you will also receive a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, wherein I will meet with you personally and assess where you are on your personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage. To the best of your advantage moving forward. One of the things I tried, you'll also have access as a founding member to the entirety of the Tarot Church program. That's over 12 hours worth of material for you to receive in an ever expanding library. Even if you don't, and you'll also get a discount on the full year's worth of readings. Even if you don't become a subscriber to my Substack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings and services. I post each day's podcast there with a photo of today's spread. You should definitely head over there because today's spread is awesome. I would encourage you to go check it out. You'll also have access as well to my Mystic Meditations articles that gives you a recap on everything we've been seeing energetically in the cards. And you'll also get to notice any new offerings. Speaking of offerings, on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. Now, these are for any of my students that are seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are focused on each individual's personal spiritual goals and journey work. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. Also, for my clients that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. These are packages of 4 30-minute readings, again, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey. I'm also very happy to offer dream interpretation readings now, which you can purchase on an individual level or as a series. If you purchase the Dream Interpretation Package series, I would encourage you to start to keep a dream journal, as we will meet weekly or bi-weekly with that journal and utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again tomorrow.